Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm going to be taking up more of your questions in another segment of Ask Judy. TG Remixed asked me, could you add some explanation on one of your videos about overdubbing dialogue whenever they did do it? Sure. We would have to replace dialogue when there was sound that they couldn't edit out. They couldn't get that much noise out, whether it was airplanes or traffic or maybe some beeping that happened from a trash truck on the street, a motorcycle, all those kinds of things that we hear that wouldn't have been a sound that would have worked in the background of a scene of the Waltons. And if they didn't have an opportunity or couldn't fix that dialogue at the time, usually we just do another take, but sometimes something happened and they couldn't do it. Or for some reason, what was happening in the scene made it impossible to record clean sound. For instance, in The Grandchild, there's the whole sequence at night when I have gone to see Cassie and she has completely freaked me out over the tea leaves and sort of cursed me in a sense. And I go running out into the night and there's a storm happening and there's lightning. And because of the sound of the machine that was creating the lightning and then all the sound of the machines making the rain, we just couldn't shoot. We couldn't record sound. So all of that was done without sound in the first place. So when they were editing those scenes together, I had to go into the recording studio at Warner Brothers. And what they do is they show the video on the screen. So I'm there with a microphone and headphones on, and I am looking at a screen of the scene of me running through the woods at night. And they wanted a combination of sounds. So they wanted me like breathing as if I was running and upset. So I did, sort of, I made those kinds of sounds to fill in there. And then there was a point where Kurt finds me. So those headlights on the van hit me and I start screaming. So I had to go in and do heavy breathing and screaming for that scene. Or for some reason in The Awakening, when I'm in the water and with the young college students, and he kisses me. For some reason, that scene, the dialogue of that scene had to be redone. I don't know why, but I had to go in. And again, the scene was up there. Now, in that case, I was replacing specific lines. So somebody would have typed up exactly what I said, and I would hear the original or not, or at least I would see my lips moving, and I would get a countdown of 3 beeps. Beep, beep, beep. So I knew when to start. Those were timed out for the first sound of my dialogue. And then I would say the line and do my best to match up exactly to the timing of what I originally said. Now, the tricky thing about that is that you're also trying to play a scene. So you want to not only match up the syncing of the lips, but you want to infuse some sense of there being a performance there. So that, to me, when I was young, was a tricky thing. Over the years, I've had to do things at different times. Sometimes it is actually specifically to what was being said, and sometimes it is just external dialogue, something that might have been happening, like the good nights. The good nights, we never went into the sounds, into the recording studio to do. We always just did those on the set under the microphone. They pull us together in the living room set and say, okay, Judy, Eric, Richard, Ralph, you're in the good nights. And everybody would gather around the microphone with the script in front of us of what those good nights were and just say the lines, do 3, 4 takes of it, and they'd send that off to the editing room. But I've had things where they wanted to fill in other dialogue that wasn't actually seen. So you might come in and you might have a various degree of what we called wild lines that you might just say. But we did it very little on the Waltons. So I hope that helps answer that question. Ali Avia had these questions. She was asking about, in the episode where we used the Ouija board, how we, the kids, coordinated the moves on the little disc thing. I think it was just, we knew what it was supposed to spell out, so we all kind of had only a light grip on that, and all moved in the direction of whatever letters we wanted. So that was fairly straight ahead. I mean, I think it's the same sort of things I did with my girlfriends when I was young and we goofed around with the Ouija board. You kind of knew what answers you wanted, and you sort of subliminally moved it where you wanted. Oh, does so-and-so like me? Yes or no? I used to do those sort of silly things with the Ouija board when I was growing up. And then you also wanted to know, were there ever prop mistakes or malfunctions or set problems? The front door, for example, did it ever fall off a hinge and something go wrong in the kitchen? Not really. I don't remember a lot of mishaps. I mean, there were timing things. Maybe somebody dropped something. I don't remember huge errors or things like that. The car's not working, not turning on when you needed them to be able to make an exit from a scene. That was a recurring thing, particularly with the green truck. I don't know why they had so much trouble with it. I'm not a car person, so there might be something in there. But so those were kind of funny when they had to get the big strong guys to put a rope on the front of a vehicle to tow it in or out of a scene. Sometimes it was because it wasn't running. Sometimes it was because something was very precise. Sometimes it was for sound reasons, or somebody like Will didn't drive. So there were different things like that would go on with the vehicles. And then I remember in something I was working on, like they have all the light rigging up in the rafters above the sets, and I seem to remember, like, maybe it was a barn doors or something that they use to focus, that's on a light and it's used to focus where you want the light. I think something like that fell off and nearly hit someone. I don't know that was on the Waltons, so I am not maligning anybody on the Waltons, saying anybody didn't follow full safety precautions. But I do remember something like that happening on some shoot I was on. Something starts to kind of fall over. So yeah, but nothing really specific that I remember on our show. There were some fun things, like when we would do, if you had an entrance, say you were going to enter from upstairs, and it had to be on a particular cue that they wanted you coming down to come into shot for timing purposes. And because you couldn't see anybody, and you couldn't hear real well, they'd rig a red light. And so that red light would be someplace where you could see it. And I think the assistant director or somebody would have control of that. And when it was time for you to make your entrance, so you'd stand up at the top of those stairs and you'd stare at that red light. And when it went on, you'd run down the stairs. So we would do that for various different entrances, whether it was from the front door or the back porch or the stairs. So that was common. In vehicles, if you had to do a drive-in entrance, they would generally put a walkie-talkie in the vehicle with you, and the assistant director would be someplace where they could then, say, "Go, Judy." And so you'd wait in your vehicle, and then when they said go, you'd come into frame. So those were ways that they could time up a lot of those sorts of things. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Ask Judy. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons, and more Ask Judy, and more special guests. And if you're enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.